this is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. Now this is one of the cards that I made using my scrap bits. So it's not going to be exactly the same because this is a little piece of wood veneer stuff that I don't have any more of. So we're going to see if we can duplicate it, and let's get started. Let's bring in what I came up with to use. I have a 1/2 inch of black to stamp a sentiment on. I'm going to use a different sentiment. I have some die cuts. This one is from Floushing Phrases. It's a retired Stampin' Up die set. I'm not sure if that's what the name of the dies are, but that's the name of the stamp set that it came from. These are from the In Bloom, let's see, Floushing Phrases. These are the dies. I don't remember what the names of them were. Goes with Floushing Phrases. I don't have the name of them because they're retired. And okay, I'm going to be using Touch of Ink for this stamp here, and perhaps this stamp here. These dies came out of this die here from Pierce Bloom's dies. And then I'm going to use a little Hello From Me to You from Pansy Patch. Okay, paper. I have some butterflies that were in my scrap bin. They're cut out of some designer series paper from 2 or 3 years ago from Celebration. But you can use any small butterflies. They just happen to be green color because this is kind of a monochromatic. I have a piece of watercolor paper that is 1 1/4 inches by 4 1/2 inches. I have a piece of In Good Taste designer series paper, which is 3 inches by 3 inches, a piece of soft suede, which is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. I have a piece of soft seafoam, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then my card base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4, and then that's the thick white. Okay, let's turn this over. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and glue these 3 together to make it a little bit thicker so that it looks a little bit more like the wood veneer. This is take 2 of this video. I had to put the cat away because she'll be upstairs minding her own business. As soon as I turn on the camera, she's like in my face. So I had to put her in the porch. It's actually a part of the house, but it's like a sunroom type thing. It's where we used to keep the dogs, and now it's her room because I don't have dogs anymore. See, I just put a little glue on the back of each one. I'm gluing them together. There we go. So now it's got a little bit of thickness to it. Okay, so those are those pieces. I'm going to bring in this one. We'll work on that next. And I think I'm going to use Mossy Meadow. I can't remember what ink I used. Now, on the first attempt, I used Old Olive. I like the watercolor part of it, but it wasn't quite dark enough for the edges. So let's try the Mossy Meadow. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ink this one up. Okay. Doesn't look like it's inking. I wonder if this pad needs re-inked. Okay, and I'm going to stamp this once this way here. Try to get as many leaves on in there as I can. This must need re-inked. That's alright. And we're gonna stamp one down here. Can we turn it? Let's turn it like that and get as many in there as we can. There we go. Okay, so that's that. Now I got some ink on the edge of here, so I'm probably just going to use that. And you can use a water brush or a paintbrush, whatever you want. Bring my water in now since my cat's put away. And I'm going to take this paintbrush and I'm just going to use the water to add the color onto the some of these are a little bit light, so I'm going to come back and add a little bit more color. Basically I'm using the ink that's on the paper from Stampin' It to fill in those leaves. And just plain ordinary water. I'm going to do a few at a time, although, because I want those to still be wet. Now I'm going to pick up some of that ink that's stuck there on my block. If I didn't have that, I would just stick the block into the ink or squeeze it onto the ink pad. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more of that dark color using my paintbrush. Add some of those lines back into there. I don't want to take them completely away, so you can still see them. Add in those lines again. And where the leaves are going to overlap, I want to make sure I had a little bit darkness there. A little bit here. Oops, that's not wet anymore. Easy to fix, just add a little bit of water. Alright, I'm going to do the same with these leaves here. I'm going to wet it. I'm going to come in with that concentrated ink. Add a little bit of that in there. If you wait for it to dry a minute, it won't bleed as much. Like here, it's not bleeding near as much. Need a little bit of darkness there. I'm just adding color. This isn't Stampin' Up paper, this is just some watercolor paper I had. So Stampin' Up paper I think bleeds a little bit better, but a little bit more darkness here. Well, that's basically all I did. Okay, so there's that piece. I'm going to wipe this off. Bring out my chamois. I gotta get in the habit of keeping stuff cleaned up and closed because my little kitten is into absolutely everything. Okay, so that's that part. Put this away. This is a water pot. It's meant for painting, for turpentine, I believe. It works perfect for that. Okay, now let's put this aside for a minute so it can dry. I'm going to bring this in. Bring in my embossing stuff. Excuse me, sorry about that. Alright, I've just treated that with my embossing pad, the magic pad or embossing buddy or whatever you want to call it. Okay, now I'm using this sentiment, bringing in my sentiment stamp, and I'm going to stamp that on this little strip. Perfect. Bring in white embossing powder. And this is not Stampin' Up because I don't have white Stampin' Up, but it should work just fine. For some reason this but it's got a hair on it. Clean it up with this little paintbrush, or try to. It's probably going to stick again, but yeah, okay, let's try that again. Alright, I'm just going to leave it. Put this away. I'm probably off camera anyway, because let's bring in the heat tool. So you can see it. There you go. It's starting. You see how it's melting that powder into a liquid form, a plastic form, a smooth, shiny. Go. Okay. Let that dry out, cool off. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring my snips in too. I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors and cut this about the same length as that one, this side. Okay, if you have that banner maker punch, that would work, but I don't, so I'm going to use this. Okay, then I'm going to bring in the other side, try and make it match that one as best I can. Alright, oops, a little crooked. Let's see if I can straighten it out. There we go, that's a little better. Alright, now we can assemble this card. Got all the pieces. Alright, start by adding this piece of In Good Taste Designer Series paper to the soft suede. And I want that, this is directional. I liked it better with the grain going horizontal on the card, as opposed to the same direction as this. See, I like it better that way than this way. Just added more interest. Okay, we'll glue this to the front of the soft seafoam. And it's going to be a little bit more towards the top. It's about an inch here. Half an inch on each side. Okay, we're going to glue this piece down. Make sure you get plenty of glue because it's textured watercolor paper and it's a little bit damp. This is going to be like 1/4 of an inch from the edge of this designer series paper. Like that. I'm going to bring in these pieces. This one will go here. I'm going to glue them like that, I think. Okay, so let's do this piece first, I believe. I need some dimensionals. Okay, this is going to go about 1/2 an inch from the bottom of the designer series paper here. Maybe a little less than that. Like that. Okay, this one, put little dabs of glue on the back. Just little tiny bits, don't need much. The less glue you have, the less likely it is to ooze out. Tuck it underneath there. This leaf to kind of tuck on top. Like that. Okay, then this one is going to go here. Pull that up a little. I might cut this bottom piece off. The stems. Because I think I tucked this in too far. Pull it up and move it up just a hair. Alright, and I'll do this one to go on top. Like that. That works. Okay, now we'll bring in some butterflies. I think I only need 3, and I'm just going to fold the wings on either side of that body. Put a little glue on the body. Put one here. One down here. Oh, they're all the same, aren't they? Okay. And another one up here. Alright, now this will get glued to the front of our card. There you go. card we just made together. Here's the one I did previously from scraps from my scrap bin. And here's one that I did using crumb cake instead of soft suede for the... And this is Old Olive. There you go. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.